Hello, beautiful people of planet Earth. I hope you're having an amazing day. I walked into one of my favorite spots. As you can see, it's quite an amazing sight. One of the nicest places, in my opinion, in the world. And yes, I thought, you know, I have to start communicating more. I have to be more vocal about what's happening in the world, and especially of the dark things and the dark agendas that's being executed to oppress humanity. So, yeah, with nothing further ado, let's kick it off. Okay, so in 2020, we had our first major global health crisis in the last few years at least, and this event and how it was managed was so succinctly like a script that every country did the same thing. They followed the same protocols, they suppressed the same cures, and now we're sitting with excess deaths and a huge health calamity on the way that that was completely engineered by the governments of the world. So we have to ask ourselves, like, why would people, why would governments intentionally kill their people? Well, the truth is that we live in a society of illusions, right? Where we are told certain things work in a specific way when it's not the case at all. I mean, it's the whole democratic process and the never ending strife that people have to live and deal with. When looking at human society, we evolved out of a tribal context. So, actually, modern society is a devolution of where we originally come from because we have no support network here. We don't live for free. We don't eat for free. We don't have freedom in the sense of doing and moving where we want to, right? And we all have to work, and we have to support the system which is completely cutthroat and doesn't have any mercy for you. This built upon a financial system that has inflation built into it. So, like the concept of saving money today that's worth less in the future is just like a ridiculous kind of scenario that we've all like just accepted, right? And I don't think it's like a society has to be broken down, and we have to start reevaluating what's going on, and the culprits who are responsible for this mess has to be reprimanded, right? And I think there should be public justice for these people. I don't think the current court system is gonna do it justice, but we'll have to. That can be debated, right? So here we are in 2023, and the world is in quite a state, right? We do things that make zero sense, like using plastics, and we have stuff like the economy where we actually use the economy to produce agriculture, which is highly inefficient. So it just like there's a lot of nonsensicalness in the way that the world is operating, and I think that has to be changed. And it's like the simple solution for us is self-sufficiency on an individual and community level, and that is what me and you have to start implementing as soon as possible. I feel that the longer that we delay this, right, the bigger the ramifications. And we have to start thinking of how can we sidestep the political process to choose community leaders to start spearheading these campaigns to be to get off the government teat, which is filled with poison and like rancid intentions. Okay, so one thing another thing that's completely ridiculous is our medical systems. Okay, so like if you take the United States, I'm not from there, but still the United States is sort of championed as this exemplary model of the first world Western society, but it's got the most sick and obese people in the world, with toxic foods that a lot of countries in Europe have banned, um, very powerful pesticides and stuff being sprayed on the food, and it just like it blows the mind to think that that people are so blind to how we are being manipulated. And yes, we have to definitely address that. I think if we can get people in the US to stand up for themselves, it will change the whole world, because the people in the US are in a position to do a lot in terms of changing the trajectory of the world, just because of the buying power of US citizens, the land mass available to them, and the nature of rebellion that's actually like the foundation of the American person. Okay, so I think that we as a society should firstly identify who is the culprits in this world, in this crooked financial system that we are all slaves to, and then we have to start identifying the base changes we have to make on a individual and community level to weather the storm of the collapse of this financial system. And I think that yes, we should just come out and say unapologetically, unafraid, show our faces to the people that is responsible for this mess we are in. So the easiest way to see how um, the easiest way to see how we have been manipulated is by watching this news clip, and then after that you can see that there's a definitive script. There's no objectivity, or there's no like there's an objective narrative. There's a narrative being pushed by some people that want to keep the public misinformed. Another example is, like, for instance, Elon Musk being the richest person in the world, or Jeff Bezos, or whatever. It completely leaves out the controllers of the financial system, who are obviously the richest people in the world. And the whole fact that that's not being told to the public is already indicative of what the agenda is, right? They want to entertain the public so as to siphon away the last potential of resistance that the public can give. So, speaking about the richest family, the Rothschild family, right? It's an estimate, according to this video, that the Rothschild family is $10 trillion strong. All right. Now, I'm going to have to edit this clip in, but $10 trillion, how many countries worth is that? How many individuals whole income is that worth? And it's being championed a lot that or being said a lot that we have got a certain percentage of the world, something like 20%, owning 80% of the world's resources, right? So if everybody was living a good life and that was the case, and nature was taken care of, and life flourished, and we didn't have any scarcity or confusion or like poverty and the destruction of nature, then we could debate that that model works. But we see the complete opposite. We see a world in complete disarray, right? With people that are extremely wealthy, but their wealth is only numbers on a screen. And the people that control these numbers, right, are never brought into the public light for scrutiny. Okay? So that tells you they control the media. They control a lot of celebrities, and they control a lot of people that espouse a specific way of being, the materialistic kind of selfish, um, do only what I want to do mindset, which poisons the youth and kind of lets you adopt the mindset of the controllers. because those controllers, they have that mindset. They have zero regard for human life and for the well-being of the planet and for the continuation of um, the world and for the advancement of people's health and well-being. And we see it the most with these social media applications and just the avalanche of mental health and destructive behaviors that we see that's prevalent in the world today. Stuff like when you look at the financial system or the controllers, then you would make the mistake of thinking that, you know, this whole controlling mechanism is purely for finances, for maybe geopolitical gain. But when looking deeper into the problem, you find out that it's actually a spiritual problem, right? These higher up people that control these financial institutions are using black magic and dark magic to put spells on the people to keep them subservient. And they have rituals which they do to appease dark spiritual parasites which are feeding off of the negative, lower vibrational energy being emitted by the people in constantly stressful and annoying kind of existences, right? If you take the average person in the world who's not in that 20%, then their whole life is a continuation of worry, right? Um, Worrying if you're going to be able to pay your bills, worrying if you're going to be able to pay your children's education, worrying about the wars, worrying about the climate, worrying about the virus, worrying about um, your spouse and their mental health and your children's mental health, and continue and continue and continue. Now imagine people are like energy emitters, and if you are elated, you've got a high energy, and if you are depressed, you've got a lower energy. You've got it's almost like a, a low frequency. Okay, so let's take it in the spiritual context. We've got parasites that feed off of this lower energy of the people on this planet, and these parasites are the ones that are worshipped by these elite people. And these parasites, even though they're parasites, are very intelligent and very manipulative, and they give a very good playbook to their disciples to control people, and in exchange for that control of the people and the energy that they emit that they can use as food, these archonic entities essentially can coach their disciples who are multi-generational, like satanic bloodline families, into keeping the people under control. When we look at stuff that's being pushed in the mainstream, that is actually the parasite's idea. Okay, so the parasite, much like the movie in the Matrix, they have to keep the humans alive because the humans are their food source. So the way that they do that, and they keep us in these low vibrational states, is they constantly they create a society that firstly glorifies these lower vibrational desires that people have, you know, like sex and eating and, you know, sloth. It's almost like the sins, you know, those things. They focus, they create a society, or they create a culture that espouses these ideals, and it suppresses the more noble, more spiritual, less materialistic kind of worldviews. And yeah, if you look at the world today, it's like everything in the media is made to spread confusion and conflict. We constantly have race conflicts, black and white race conflicts, which are exacerbated by the same people who feed these parasites. And then we have the sex dynamics, which again, the gender imbalances in terms of income and stuff can be easily explained, and the stuff has already been debunked. And the point is, they get the 80% which don't really control any significant wealth, to fight amongst each other in terms of scraps from the table, um, instead of addressing the big problem, which is the controlling classes, which you know, own obscene amounts of wealth. Wealth, the Rothschild family, for instance, and the Vatican can sort all of the world's problems out in a 6 month period. You know, if that was the intention, um, and you know that kind of ties into um, how people are controlled, the different facets of control. One is the spiritual facet, the other one is the economic, and the other one is the military. And it's all sort of fear based. If you look at modern Catholicism, it's very fear based, and the Roman Catholics, for instance, um, they sodomize children. They're not very Christ-like in terms of their conduct. And you know, it's that it's that keeping, just trying to keep people in fear constantly, either fear for survival, or fear of eternal damnation, or fear of conflict. And those are the three main things, the three main pillars that they use to constantly keep people on their toes. I mean, you can talk about the virus, which I can't mention because there's actually things listening to code words. um, you can talk about that, or you can talk about the military industrial complex. It's always busy causing conflict in the world. Um, and then you can talk about the religious aspect, which either encourages immoral behaviors or it condemns people. There's no balance between the two. So I picked up this feather. How beautiful is that? Peacock feather. And it's a beautiful symbol of transformation, and I feel that this year will be the year that I will reach my full potential, and I will do my part, which I should have done ages ago. And my own fear and apathy was the reason that I didn't. And you know, it's been a terrible decision. You know, I was caught up in the system as well, and the fears of the system. And you know, I'm over it. I'm over the fear. What must happen must happen. And blessed be to the Almighty Creator